everyone, I'm Debbie Frey. Welcome to my new series called Meeting Mother Mary. I'm going to be doing a series of videos where I teach you all different kinds of ways that you can meet Mother Mary, how you can speak to her, how you can hear her speaking to you, how you can pray to her, how she can teach you, how she can lead you, and most importantly, how she can bring you to her son. So we're going to start this week by traveling to a place called South Holland, Illinois. It's not far from Chicago, and this is the very first place that I met Mother Mary. See this building behind me? This is St. Jude the Apostle Catholic Church and School in South Holland, Illinois. And this is where I went to elementary school. It's also the first place where I ever learned that Mother Mary was real, that she knows me, she knows my name, she knows everything about me, and that she loves me. It all started when I was in grade 2. I was in the class of Mrs. Vanderkar, and it was the month of May. And during May, every year we did a special prayer service that was called a May crowning. And we would bring flowers to Mother Mary, and we would crown her head with roses. So Mrs. Vanderkar had told our whole class that the next day we were to bring a flower for Mother Mary for the procession. My mom had a pretty big garden, so that was a pretty easy thing to do. But Mrs. Vanderkar said, it's okay even if it's a dandelion. So the next day I was walking to school, and I got halfway to school when I realized I forgot to bring a flower. And now if I turned around and ran all the way home to get a flower and then had to run to school, I was going to be late and I would miss the bell. So I wasn't sure what to do. And then I noticed that a neighbor of mine had a great big lilac bush. And it was so big that the branches were growing up and over the fence, kind of like this one. So I was looking at those branches coming over the fence, and I thought to myself, I bet if I picked one of those branches, it would be okay because technically it's over the sidewalk. So I went over and I jumped up in the air and I finally was able to pick one of those branches. But now I was really late for school. So I had my books and my lunch and I didn't know what to do. So I took the lilac and I put it in my pocket so I could run really fast to school. And I did it. I made it to school on time, and I was lined up before the bell, and I reached into my pocket to take out the lilac, and it had gotten completely smashed. Well, I was heartbroken. I couldn't bring a flower like that to Mother Mary. So I decided that I was going to put the flower back into my pocket, and if Mrs. Vanderkar asked, I was just going to tell her that I forgot. So fast forward now, and we're in Mrs. Vanderkar's classroom, and she asks us all to line up to go to the May crowning, and she invites us all to get out our flowers, and you will not believe what happened. Every single kid in our entire class forgot to bring a flower from home. There wasn't a single flower. Well, Mrs. Vanderkar was very upset. She kept telling us how she was so disappointed in us, and I felt terrible. So finally I raised my hand and I said, excuse me, Mrs. Vanderkar, I did bring a flower, but it got wrecked. And I pulled it out of my pocket, and she came over and she took the flower out of my hand and she walked right out of the classroom. I figured she was probably going to throw it away. So then we walked into the church for our procession, and as we were walking in, I saw the beautiful statue of Mother Mary with the crown on her head. And I noticed at her feet was a little tiny vase, and in the vase was the lilac that I had picked for her. Well, I wanted to cry. I felt terrible. I felt terrible that I forgot to bring a flower. I felt terrible that I stuck the lilac in my pocket and it got wrecked. I felt terrible that the other boys and girls didn't bring her a flower. This was turning out to be a pretty bad day. Anyway, a few years later, when I was, I think around 22 years old, I saw Mother Mary in a dream. And I know it was her. And do you know how I know it was her? She gave me a very special sign so that I would know that it was her. And you know what the sign was? Every time I've ever seen Mother Mary, she was always wearing white or blue. But this time Mother Mary wasn't wearing white or blue. She was wearing lilac. And when I saw her in the dream, I knew immediately that it was really her and that she had done that as a sign. That was her way of letting me know all those years later that I didn't have to feel bad about the lilac that got crushed. That Mother Mary remembered what I did, and what mattered to her was that I loved her. Well, that was the first time I met Mother Mary. I've seen her several times since then. I've seen her in dreams. I feel her presence. I talk to her every single day, and it's made all the difference in my life. And I want to teach you some of these things too. So go ahead and click the subscribe button so you never miss another one of my videos. I'm going to be doing these videos all summer long, and I'm looking forward to traveling with you as we learn about many different ways that you can meet Mother Mary. And that's all for now. Be safe, be well, peace be with you, and Mary, Mother of God, pray for us.